For a continuous period of 41 months, housing prices in the United States experienced a steady upward trend. This incredible run started shortly before the events of 2020, and it quickly became a nightmare for buyers. At every point where it was believed that prices were simply too high, the market punished shoppers and rewarded speculators. From February 2019 to June 2022, prices on the national level, according to the Case-Shiller Index, jumped 51%. This massive never-before-seen leap in values changed everything we knew about real estate. In some cities like Seattle, for example, the situation was even worse. Their values, in the same time frame, jumped over 100%. This era of incredible growth, greed, and speculation caused millions of Americans to begin questioning the health of the market. Were we seeing the development of another super bubble, similar to what we saw in the early 2000s? And was this evidence that another crash was on the horizon? These questions are debated daily on YouTube, Wall Street, and various other platforms. They are full of people on both sides. We can speak about evidence from each perspective for hours, but at the end of the day, there is one simple chart that tells a story better than anything I have ever seen presented. It's the Case-Shiller Index filtered by year-over-year change. This infamous chart tracks prices nationally going back to 1987 and reveals everything you need to know about real estate in America. Take any point on this line, and what it shows is how much higher or lower home prices were compared to 1 year ago. For example, in December 1997, home prices were around 4% higher than December 1996. Why is this chart so important? Well, it paints the history of the market for the last 35 years, and we can divide this story into 5 distinct parts that tend to repeat themselves. The first part is the early 90s collapse, a period of home value decline. This was the infamous regional crash, or as Ravager calls it, the hidden crash. In some markets like LA, prices declined as much as 25%. It's not talked about much, but the US also had a small recession during this period, and it ended sometime around January of 1992. From here, the market underwent its golden age for 13 years. We had steady growth, the economy expanded, and home prices went higher. Sometime in the early 2000s, greed started pouring into the real estate sector, with speculators, investors, loan officers, agents, and builders all jumping on this train that had been printing money for over a decade. What we saw was the formation of a bubble, massive jumps in value that raised eyebrows all over the country. Sometime around September 2005, the train derailed, and the long crash began, lasting all the way until May 2012. This 7-year period of trouble was called the Big One, the Great Financial Crisis, a period where nobody wanted anything to do with real estate. Then, from 2012 till about April 2022, we saw what was the Great Recovery. Similar to what happened in the early 90s period, we saw home prices slowly go up. Things got better and better, and more people jumped on the bandwagon. Once again, speculators, investors, loan officers, agents, and even social media trends, this time around, turned to real estate as a steady, foolproof way to get rich. Led by the events of March 2020, this train found a new gear. Just as the early 2000s saw price growth jump to record levels, the early 20s saw the same.